Thank you. Now, the purpose of this press conference is to present the response of the left to Donald Trump's moves. I'm also expressing myself as the part of the International Trade Committee here at the Parliament. We're supposed to be responding to this trade war, seeing as the European Commission does seem to be just waiting and seeing, because we have to recognize that the imposition of tariffs by Donald Trump is nothing other than a trade war which has been launched, and it is an international trade war. It is basically going to shake the whole of the world, but particularly Europe. It's going to impact workers, and that's something that Martin will come back to. So in light of that, we have the European Union and the European Commission, which is still considering, is still thinking, is drafting, and is not doing very much. So their response has been too slow, but is really missing the point, partly because they are refusing to use an existing tool, which is the anti-coercion instrument, which was introduced in November 2023 by the European Parliament, so it's actually a whole toolkit which is designed to respond to trade conflict. We have tariffs, we have restriction of import volumes, we have restrictions on access to the public procurement market, which we could apply to America, restrictions on copyright and intellectual property, but the EU is actually being pillaged. The European Union, rather than using these tools, is essentially giving in to Trump's blackmail. This is blackmail because the proposal is that we would reduce our tariffs for America. So we're going back to not admitting that a spade is a spade. And therefore, the left has a suggestion for what we can do. First of all, using the toolkit that we have and dealing with the concerns of the workers, which Martin will touch on, but also we're going to take a deeper look at our economic model. What this crisis reveals is our dependencies, our weaknesses, our shortfalls, and that weakness is linked to free trade. So we are dependent on exports because we have constructed an economic model which is focused on exporting abroad, and then we're also dependent on imports for certain key basic products. So rather than questioning this free trade model, we have Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, who is saying, well, let's have more free trade with India, with Mercosur, with loads of other countries. But this is the third crisis that we've seen. We had the crisis of COVID, we had the energy crisis, and we had the crisis of Ukraine, which have already demonstrated to what extent we were vulnerable and that this model isn't viable. That is why we continue to call for an exit from all free trade agreements. Instead, we should be focusing on producing for our own needs, because we are very vulnerable by having international supply chains. Sometimes we're going to end up finding ourselves without the things that we need. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we need? How can we ensure that we have the means to produce what we need? That's true for agriculture, that's true for industry, and in order to achieve that, we do need to exit from this current free trade model, and we need to make plans, we need to organize, and we need to rethink our whole supply chain and bring it all back into Europe. Unfortunately, at the moment, the European Commission has gone exactly the other direction.